Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettyjohn.
Aloha, everyone out there at the Hawaii Boss podcast listening in. This is David Pettyjohn. We are so excited to have you back with us. Thanks everyone for all of the listeners out there who have seen our previous, seen and heard our previous podcasts. We're just so excited to share all these different bosses and leaders in Hawaii that could help us as we strive to rebuild after this pandemic, but also strive to make a more resilient and sustainable Hawaii as we go forward, both economically, ecologically, and throughout, all the specialness that is our Aina. So we're very excited today. We get to go to Kauai, and we're going to meet our very special general manager of the Cliffs at Princeville. Mr. Jim Braman is here with us today. He leads a new vision for green travel as a general manager there. So different things that he's doing. He's having some cleanup, sort of following the UN pillars for development. So we're excited to talk about that a little bit. The Cliffs he's not only been there, he's been at previously served as a general manager at Castle Hospitality Group, Grand Pacific Resorts, and Wyndham Vacation Resorts in Princeville. He serves on the board of directors of the Kauai Visitors Bureau, the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, the Anainaho Community Park, and the Boys and Girls Club of Kauai. Very community-oriented boss, that's for sure. He was recognized by the Pacific Edge magazine in 2020 as Hospitality Executive of the Year. Jim received his BA in Hospitality Management from Missouri State University and lives in Kauai with his wife and son. We're really excited to welcome Jim. Jim, aloha and welcome. Sir, Jim, how long have you lived in Kauai?
I've been lucky enough to live on Kauai since 1993.
93. So what brings, Kauai's tough to live on. It's sometimes a little expensive and housing. So what brings a guy to Kauai and stays there?
I used to work for Hyatt Hotels, and I was lucky enough to come to the Big Island in 1989 and then moved over here in 1993 and just absolutely loved it and stayed. And it's just been lucky enough for it all to work out.
So it was first because of work you came?
Correct.
So where were you before that? Where'd you get your hotel GMing experience, or is that what they call, when you're a professional hotelier, is that what they call it? What's your line of work?
A professional host, really.
Okay.
Showing people a good time on vacation. And I grew up in Iowa, went to college and got a hotel degree in Missouri, at Missouri State, and got hired by Hyatt and went to Florida. I was in Key West and in Miami, then went to the Big Island and then Kauai. And
now that's interesting. You have experience on the Big Island. I spent the first 7 years in Hawaii on the Big Island. You got to tell us where where the Big Island did you do some work?
I lived up in Waikoloa, and it was absolutely beautiful. I love the Big Island.
Yes, when we were young in high school, we'd sneak into the Hilton Waikoloa because we didn't have a pass, and we'd go ride the boats over there. They didn't know. Oh yeah. We're my hotel, my parents' room is right over there. We'd sneak it. So I'm sure you had to keep the riffraff out a little. I'm not riffraff, but a little trouble. Kids getting in there. That's where the excitement is.
Lots of people came to visit that hotel just to see what it was like, whether they were staying there or not. And I'm sure lots of them swam in the lagoon and lots of them got in the pool too.
Yes. Well, it is a beautiful, beautiful location, but we're excited about your location and what, Kauai, again, a special sort of place. The resorts there have do they have as much traffic? Tell us about what you see is currently happening, or what was happening before the pandemic, and kind of lead us through to now, and maybe some strategies that you're using or trying to figure out with the rest of the Kauai, team over there, your group and politicians and other probably hoteliers and hosts, as you say, professional hosts, are trying to figure out, hey, what do we do with this situation now? So tell us before and after, if you can take us down that road.
Okay. So prior to COVID, go back to last year ago, January, February, before everything happened in March, the Cliffs was, running 93% occupancy consistently. Things were clicking along just great. And then all of a sudden it was over. And it was not only did everybody quit coming, but those people that were here had to leave They issued an order that everyone had to go. It was the craziest thing I've ever been a part of in the hotel business, to tell guests you need to leave when you usually are, your mindset is doing everything you can to make them come and make them want to come back after they come the first time. So
have you ever experienced anything like that in your entire hotel service career?
Absolutely not. And it was just crazy. And of course, flights were a problem, and people were saying there's more COVID at home. I want to stay. And it was really, and some hotels just shut down. And we were one of the ones that was still open. So people were trying to come to our hotel, and it was just craziness there. And then once we got that settled, then it was really just kind of stop, breathe, see what's going to happen here and what do we do next. We were lucky with the support of our board of directors that we stayed open, and we kept all of our employees working. And we were able to get a PPP loan, and we did projects around the resort. It seemed like we painted everything. We had lots of landscaping, lots of things that really are kind of hard to do when you've got a lot of guests in house. So if there's any silver lining to the whole thing, it's that we did get a lot of that kind of stuff done.
Well, that is good business planning on your part, because many businesses may not have had that capital reserve to do that sort of thing. Did you have some sort of preparation for rainy days? It seems like the folks on Kauai have to do a little more preparation for rainy days than other people do.
We were lucky in that we did. We had the foresight to have some set away, and we're able to do that. And then, of course, the PPP loan was a game changer. That's what really allowed us to keep going. And with that, we kept all of our employees going till pretty much the end of July. And then we were faced with, things hadn't reopened yet. What little business we were doing wasn't enough to really sustain. And so we said, we're either going to have to lay off some employees, most of them go on unemployment, but we'd be able to keep their insurance throughout the rest of the year, as long as the rest of the year. So we made the decision, do we try and stay open and bet that things are going to, keep everybody working and bet that things are going to pick up sooner than later? Or do we let some people go on to unemployment and keep everybody's insurance for the whole of the year? And, once again, in the middle of a pandemic, how do you tell long-term employees, we're going to lay you off and take away your insurance, right? So we made the decision to keep everybody's insurance and let some people go on unemployment. And that was a very good decision. Well,
and sometimes that's the role of a boss. You have to make these tough decisions, and you don't do it in a vacuum, do you? Who all did you consult as you meet and make these decisions?
Yeah, very much not in a vacuum. I'm very lucky that I've got a fantastic HR manager, Hasina Mitchell, and our controller, Anna Freire. And, listening to them and, what's the best approach here? Where do we go from here? We met a lot. Our board of directors here at the resort was also very, very supportive and involved. But I really have to give credit to Hasina and Anna in helping me manage through that in the best way for the staff.
Well, you can't, as a boss, you realize you can't do everything on your own, and you've got to have a good support team there. And it sounds like you were fortunate to have that, and fortunate that they're hopefully still there with you as you're trying to now lay tracks to move out of this. Can you help us understand where you're at now, and you're looking out in the horizon? What are some of your strengths, some of your maybe weaknesses internally? And again, we don't want to give away your game plan or anything like that. But Kauai, maybe you guys are going to have to work together. Tell us about maybe are there partnerships, or are there different things that you're trying to do that come out of this? You're not going to be able to come out of this on your own. How does Kauai do it coming out of this?
Yeah, it's very true. And Kauai, you're right. Kauai's been through a lot of tough times, and they do tend to band together when things get rough. And so a great example of that is we've tried to partner with a lot of the North Shore community businesses and do some cross promotions. And the Cliffs has really flipped our entire marketing strategy to where, most businesses, you promote the Cliffs and then look at all these other neat things around us, but look at the Cliffs.
Right.
We took an attitude of look at the North Shore of Kauai. There's, argue there's more beautiful places on the earth, especially anywhere nearby. So great vacation destination, and look at all these great things to do and all these great restaurants. Part of the challenge was a lot of people believed that it was completely closed down and that there was nothing to do. We can't go to Kauai, everything's closed. But highlighting that, some of our favorite restaurants and shops were open, and that we were able to do that and look at all this fun stuff to do on the North Shore of Kauai. And by the way, while you're here, stay at the Cliffs. And
Sure.
so turning that inside out worked very, very well for us.
So you start to see some movement there.
Yeah, we have. We were a resort bubble. We were in among the first resorts to become a resort bubble last September.
Mm-hmm.
And while that was a tremendous amount of work and detail to keep track of everybody and monitor and all of that sort of thing, it allowed us to be open. It allowed us to do some business. It allowed guests and owners to come. And now that the resort bubble is gone and we've rejoined Safe Travels, we're seeing occupancy pick up pretty quickly. We're already in the 70s, and that number just keeps going up day by day.
Well, how about this as another potential variable that could help you? Isn't there soon to be some sort of passport, an immunization passport? Have you heard what's the latest for Kauai? I know there's been, you folks have gone through different iterations of access. So any word on that?
I don't know of anything special about Kauai, but I know that I heard Lieutenant Governor Josh Green say that they thought maybe by next month we would have it for Inter-Island. And if I understood him correctly, they thought they would run the program for about a month that way with to get the kinks out of it and whatnot, and then open it up to the mainland, and then international travel sometime after that.
Sure.
So that will be the next really big step, is
sure
that people be able to do that. But for us now, just having to take one test when you arrive, and then we have a program for a voluntary second test 72 hours afterwards. It's an incentivized test that with rapid results that you can take to try and keep things up. But that vaccine passport will be a game changer again.
It will be helpful. And, there's we're still not out of the woods. There's still some potential things and that happening, but these vaccines have been great. And so hopefully we're excited for that influx of folks. But in reality, can Kauai just be all tourism? Are there other, what else is, what makes Kauai outside of tourism? And what brings the local folks there? Because that's another option you may have for travel, is the Kama'aina, folks that come and visit. So tell us how we may not have all we want from the international travel, but what kind of things are we doing, you see, with local folks, and then also, outside of tourism?
Well, for the Cliffs, we've been able to offer some really good rates for Kama'aina. Mm-hmm. And during parts of the pandemic, we did great business. When inter-island travel was open, but mainland travel wasn't, we did a heavy push and marketed. And for some reason, it really stuck with Maui. And a lot of business with visitors from Maui. And that worked out real well. And all those programs are still in place. So you can't ever depend completely on one market versus another. You need to welcome all markets because they rise and fall depending on what the situations are.
Well, and like you said, when the pandemic first hit, a lot of staff had to leave, and their families, had to leave and find other work, left the island, left Hawaii altogether. Mm-hmm. A lot of stories, they had to keep earning money. And so those kind of things, stop.
That was one of my greatest fears, was that my staff we'd be closed and my staff would go find other jobs.
Right. Your good staff.
It sounds a little bit hotel GM speaky, I guess.
Right.
But we are lucky to have a good staff, and a lot of them have worked here 20 plus years. And, the owners know them when they come. They like to see familiar faces. And you can't forget, unemployment was 2% before the pandemic hit. Right?
Wow.
And so competition for employees was fierce. Finding good employees that would stay sometimes could be real difficult. And we were very, very blessed to have a great staff that had been here for a long time. So it really was, I think, through the whole thing, it was my greatest fear that if we didn't keep them engaged and keep them employed as much as we possibly could, they would be able to turn around and get another job someplace else sooner than later.
Right. And then when you try and ramp back up, which is you're trying to do right now, then you're doing the same thing again, trying to find all those folks that have the special customer service skill that you look for too. Right. So now, where do you have an in-house training? If you bring people on, do you expect generally that the Hawaii schools have good customer service training, or they I think, the community colleges or different things? Customer service is an important part of what you do, hospitality. Or do you have to do most of that training internally? And what are you finding as you're making those hires, those choices? What kind of training level are they at when you get them, and how much work does it take to bring them up to your standard of hospitality and customer service?
That's a good question. The schools do a very good job, all in all. Mm-hmm. Especially the community college here on Kauai, the the staff in the hospitality program there and the culinary program are hotel and restaurant people prior that have gone into teaching primarily. And so
Okay.
they've got some real world experience. My experience with University of Hawaii or University of West Hawaii has been great. And then, of course, no matter where they come from, it's really all about their attitude and their personality. And you can kind of teach them everything else with the buttons to push on the computer to check somebody in,
Sure.
whatever it might be. But it all starts with the personality and that. And so there is quite a bit of in-house training when you get them here, regardless of what their background is.
Sure. Right. Sometimes it's difficult. How do you teach them? Is the customer always right, sir?
No, but they're always a customer, and so you gotta treat them like that. And it's very true. And it can be hard. There can be some people travel better than others. And when they come after a 16-hour trip, and especially recently where they've had to jump through 100 extra hoops to get here, and they're tired and they're cranky and that kind of stuff, it can be hard when they first arrive sometimes. No, they're not always right, but they're always a customer, and you have to treat them as such and take care of them. And usually the next morning they'll come back down and say hi and I'm sorry, and we were that kind of thing.
Once you wowed them with the customer service of the over the night, and they got settled in comfortably into your beautiful resort, things kind of start to it helps to sell the message you're trying to.
Yeah, you wake up and open your door and look out at the North Shore and look out at the ocean, and it's pretty hard to be very upset for very long.
But what are some steps? Somebody in customer service, a lot of folks out there listening, maybe their first job, someone comes at them, a customer's pretty hard at them, and gosh, what are some of the things that maybe some pointers, one or two that to help someone get past that initial thing, and then help the customer rather than get mad too?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing sometimes, and it's the best advice is you can't take it personally. And you got to let it roll off your back, but you can't appear that you don't care, but you need to just let it go as soon as it happens, and just take care of them and put yourself in their shoes. Usually it's some sort of confusion, something that is, they didn't read perhaps, or maybe we made a mistake. Don't assume that they're wrong and that the problem is caused by a problem with them. It could be us making a mistake. And the worst thing you can do is try and stand your ground and find out, it is our fault, right? And that's and you never win, right? You never ever win an argument with a guest. And so what you want to do is just take care of them, make it right, apologize, own it, and hopefully move them on to the next level and start having fun.
I think the biggest thing with customers is they want to know that you just heard them. They may not even care if you have the solution for them right now. Did you hear the stress I'm going through right now? They want you to hear it. Yes, ma'am. I would be stressed too. Empathy, those kind of skills that they're not easily.
Sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry. Let me look into that. Let's fix that right now. Kind of a thing.
But at the same time,
things like that to diffuse it.
Right. You don't want to sell the company down the river either and saying, oh yeah, the other department never does a good job with that, Yeah, right. That always happens because you want to protect yourself. And so sometimes you sell out the other guy that says, oh no, it's the other department. They always mess it up, but that doesn't help either, because then it just passes the buck to someone else. Like you say, own it, own the fact that, okay, this person is upset about something. You may not know what it is, but take a minute, hear them and say, yes, sir, I hear what you said. So what you said is, and then repeat it. And basically they're like, oh, they heard me. And then that calms them down. That's an initial quick tip, I think, that can help people to calm down. But there's lots more. It also
tell them you're going to fix it. Tell them, let's get that fixed. Let's take care of that right now.
Right. And then write it down and make sure it does get taken care of.
Exactly.
That's the worst. If you say, I'm going to fix that, and then you don't fix it, it doubles the problem. It compounds it.
That's right.
Right. And then you got a double mad person on your hands. You almost salvaged it, but then boom, you got it. That's that follow-up piece.
Right. There's an old joke in the hotel business too, that you're working on your guest satisfaction scores. And once they reach a certain level, you really can't, it's hard to break through that glass ceiling at a certain point, because you almost need some sort of service recovery to make somebody become a real promoter for you.
Sure.
And so the joke is, we're getting to the point that we got to go make some people mad so we can fix it. They'll tell us.
Well, when you're that good, that's a good problem to have. You got to upset a few folks to show that you can still know how to problem solve.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, that's a good problem, but I'm glad that your team there and it becomes a part of the culture, doesn't it? And over time, that as you focus on customer service or you set a few standards, what happens when a staff member doesn't quite get it? Maybe they have to break out of or they don't quite, what are some challenges that you've seen that maybe this isn't the line of work for you? Or it's always a tough decision, talking about a boss, letting someone go, firing them, all that kind of stuff. I don't want an example of that, but why is it hard for a boss to let someone go? What's the challenge there?
Well, you're right. It is. It's the dirty part of the job, but you can't avoid it. And if somebody is not a right fit, then you've got to move them on. But it should never be a surprise to them. And you should have had lots of conversations up to this point. You don't spin around on a dime and just fire somebody. You've sat down and talked to them and given them some coaching and tried to help them and maybe find them another spot on the bus, right? Maybe desk is not for you, but because you don't handle face-to-face conflict or problems very well, but maybe if you're in reservations or behind the scenes on the phones, maybe you can do great because you've got the basic knowledge and skills for that. It's just take away part of the job they don't like, perhaps, or they're not a good fit for, and then you can retain a good employee, and they can be thankful and become one of your best employees for a long, long time.
Well, that's a good boss. It's someone who's willing to sort of adapt to the needs of that person, that individual, that says, we still need you, but this role, you're not quite ready yet, or maybe someday you will, but not right now. And like you said, plenty of conversations. There's been coaching happening. That's why I want to have this conversation, is so that people can know that it's okay to make mistakes. It should be, as long as you're trying to follow what your boss is trying to put out. And that takes a lot of communication from you. So how do you put out this communication? How many employees do you have?
We've got 75 employees. So it's a good size. And you know what? Somebody's going to make a mistake every day. You get that many people together, someone's going to screw something up, right? And so you got to be there to help, and you got to let them know that nobody's going to bite their head off for it, as long as they weren't doing it maliciously, right? And if they keep making the same mistake over and over, then there's a training problem or an issue or something with that. But in general, when a waiter drops a plate, we don't something like that happens, right?
Right.
Be to help them clean it up, be there for service recovery, kind of to them,
right? And
then let them position them to be able to go on and take care of whatever it is they need to take care of their guests, right? And so helping people work through those kind of situations goes a long, long way.
Because as you help your employees, I'm hearing this a lot more. People have been saying, well, we have to focus on the customer, but if you don't focus on your staff, like you're talking about, the customer doesn't feel what you're trying to share.
Yeah.
If they're not going to send that message.
Sneaky, but your employees are your customer. To a point, right? You've got to take care of them so they can take care of the guest, and knowing that you've got their back helps, right?
Absolutely. It goes a long way. When they feel safe in their workplace, they don't have the axe of the fire, you're fired, laying over their head when they come into work every day. I know I can't perform if I was, waiting like that coming into work. There should be understanding, a little bit of grace, a little bit of, and especially it seems like on Kauai, you folks have been through so much, this resilient type of folks that are on Kauai. And so you've got this great business, you've got a great culture happening there, and now you're also a leader in the community. What other types of things from your position are you doing to make Kauai what it is today? Because it feels like a business leader is also a community leader.
It's nice to be able to do that, and yes, I'm lucky that I can. I'm involved with the Girls Club. I'm the president of the board here on Kauai. I help out with a group called the Nainaho Community Park, which is in Kilauea. I'm on that board of directors and have recently become the president. I'm on the Kauai Visitor Bureau board, and all of these things kind of tied together. I got involved with Boys and Girls Club because an old friend worked there. She introduced me to it, and I realized quickly that a lot of my staff at the time were sending their kids to Boys and Girls Club so they could come work for me. And
Oh,
they needed a good place where they could send their kids. It was affordable. They knew they'd be safe after school, that sort of thing. And it enabled them to come and do what they do for the resort.
uh-huh.
Without that, they perhaps wouldn't be able to do that. And so I did. And then from there learned, that there's all mix of people that go there. Some people that have great challenges and other people that are very blessed and very
Mhm.
lucky. So it just it's a nice mix, and it's something that really grabbed me, and I'm thankful to be a part of it. And then opportunities come along to be a part of groups that are looking at how can we make Kauai better. The destination management plan, taking
Uh-huh.
a look, what is the community saying, what is the needs of businesses, and what can we do to improve those. And whether it be traffic on Kauai, or whether it
Mhm.
be the way we deal with businesses or recycling or whatever it might be.
Right.
It was really rewarding to be a part of that. And out of that came the North Shore Shuttle. It was quite a few good projects from that.
So it's community building. So again, you're trying to build a community so you can bring more folks, I think, to live there and visit there. If someone wants to come and live there, what are some of the things they need to know? What are, if they're coming, like Kauai is my space and I want to live there. What are some of the first things they need to know?
Well, it's very rural. And
Uh-huh.
I think that a lot of people come on vacation and they get, wowed by the beauty and oh, this would be a wonderful place to
Mhm.
live and it's just going to be dreamy. But then they get here and, there's no Whole Foods, there's a lot of shopping and things like that. It can be difficult. And so it's not what they're used to. There's not a lot of nightlife entertainment type things. It's
Mhm.
outdoor sort of a place, and it's expensive. It's expensive to buy a home here, and that's an issue. And
Well, you're not giving me a lot of good things. I mean, these are all good things. I think it's beautiful. It's rural. Some people come for that. They want to get away from Honolulu is crazy. People don't want to drive for an hour trying to get to work for, 10 miles to go, it's crazy. So Kauai is a spot, but then for work, maybe they want to start a business. Maybe they want to, employment rate was 2%. You're not competing as much anymore. Some of the businesses have left. Maybe there's some opportunity for other business. Where do you see a need in Kauai right now?
I think there'll be a need for some of the service industry type of things, and the ancillary businesses that support resorts,
Okay.
whether they're selling us products or providing us a service of some sort.
Mhm.
And then also the traditional mom and pop type places like an ice cream shop or a little restaurant or a gift shop or something like that near
Right.
the resort. I think that'll all pick up very well again.
Yeah, it just starts to fill the little pukas in the little businesses that are there, and they start coming back. But again, it's still heavily dependent on tourism. What other things that we're doing just besides, hey, Kauai is great? Any partnerships? I know Surfrider. There's some eco things that are happening. Can you explore that a little bit with us?
Yeah, we were very happy. We were approached by Surfrider and became the first resort to become part of their ocean-friendly visitors program.
Uh-huh.
And that is where we encourage our guests to go out and do some beach cleanup while they're here. They're at the beach and that. And
Right.
Surfrider put together this great program where they give our concierge staff buckets and gloves and sifters and whatnot. And when we're telling them to go out to a certain beach or go here to go snorkeling or things like that,
Uh-huh.
they can put these along and do some beach cleanup and then bring that bucket back to us. And if there's recyclables in there, we'll recycle it.
Uh-huh.
If there's something that's not, Surfrider comes and picks up a lot of it and has methods to deal with that. But it's been great, and it's really been amazing how many people want to do it. Families, they like to take their kids and have their
Right.
kids help. The feeling of giving back while they're here, the
Right.
buzzword regenerative tourism, but things like this can really go a long ways. And Kauai is lucky to not have a lot of trash on all the beaches or that sort of thing, but there is a lot of marine debris that blows up here, and so it's great to be able to help do that. And Surfrider is a fantastic organization to partner with for something like
Sure,
that.
it's a great way to educate the folks that come, so they don't know that, like, okay, there's Kauai, but there's also, learning how to keep your beaches and ocean clean is something that the world is struggling with right now. So imagine being able to teach your kids in an easy way as you go also enjoy your vacation and go golf and things like that. So there's lots of education that way. What other industries out there, sea industry and there's, people are agriculture, and it's so small though in Kauai.
Yeah.
It seems like there's some.
We've got a great agricultural business here going on, and there's a lot of land that's available for that. It can be hard to make a living at that, but farmers markets are extremely heavily supported here. We have one right on property every week, where we have a farmer that comes here and brings his things, and it's fantastic. The guests love it, and that's, agriculture is a very important part, and I think something that could really grow well on Kauai, no pun intended, but it's
right.
But
The industry itself, yeah.
The industry itself could grow really well here, and it fits in with the rural lifestyle that people crave when they come here, or the people that have lived here a long time don't want to see disappear. So agriculture is a great one. I think tech, clean energy. Kauai is leading the state in the percentage of power that we generate through renewable sources, and so I think careers in that can really continue with Kauai Island Utility Cooperative or those sorts of things. Sure.
With Kauai being so remote, it really begs to be self-sustaining. Yes. And maybe it's not there yet, but I think with the kind of work that you're doing, the kind of innovative, while you're running a business, but you're also involving yourself in the community. You're pulling the resources, the limited resources that you have in Kauai together using best business principles. I think as you've grown up and doing this for a long time, it sounds like you're kind of pulling it all together, and it seems very rewarding. How about someone else who's coming up in the hospitality field? Any words of wisdom? People coming out hey, I think I like the hotel business. What are some of the things you'd say? Go for it or try something else?
I'd say go for it. It's been fantastic for me. I've gotten to travel and live in places that I would never travel to or live in. I've gotten to meet a lot of people from all over the world, and I've been doing it for, since 1989, and I still love it. And it's just find a great fit, someplace you want to be. I love playing host to people on vacation and showing them a good time, and putting together a staff of people that help do that.
Well, it's nice that you have a great facility, and it sounds like the staff are wonderful. I've never personally been to Kauai, and I've been here for 8 years, Big Island, Maui, here, Lanai, but never Kauai. I guess it's the last on everybody's list, or maybe it should be the first.
Yeah.
But certainly would love to come visit. But before we let you go, though, sir, and we appreciate all your answers, I think we've been enlightened. I think we all know Kauai a little bit better now. We have a little bit of a lightning round, a little bit of pauhana. We're kind of relaxing for the day. We're heading into the afternoon. A couple of not trick questions. I think 98% of these have been run by HR. So I think, well, hopefully we can pull this off without getting anybody in too much trouble. But just, it's a choice type of thing. Quick answer. None of these you have to be correct. But okay. So Grand Canyon or Waimea Canyon?
Waimea Canyon.
Okay. The best shrimp in the world comes from?
Ooh, Kauai shrimp is awful good.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard there's like a white-tail shrimp over there that people do up. Do you have that at your hotel?
Fantastic. And a very generous company as well. They're very involved in the community and always are very quick to come together for fundraisers or support causes and things like that. So got to give them a good plug there too.
Well, it sounds like everybody needs each other. And right. I think that's what we're finding out in Kauai. How about this? Tabasco or chili pepper water?
Oh, I'm a Tabasco guy, even though
Tabasco.
I like chili pepper water, but I'm a Tabasco guy.
Ketchup on your eggs?
No, never.
Ketchup on your rice?
No.
Okay, you're a purist with Okay, how about there's this place out there called Coco Palms that used to be a great resort out there. Is that ever going to come back?
I hope so. It's one of the saddest stories on Kauai how that once great resort is now just a poor hulk of it's just.
Was this during Aniki that this happened?
Yeah, it I think that was the final nail in its coffin, and it's been closed ever since, and it's been passed through developer to developer, and they're all gonna get it started, but nobody's been able to do it so far, and it's sitting there about half demoed, and it's horrible, and
This year might be the wrong year. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you
I was
off.
just gonna say, it's got such a rich history, and we need to figure out something to do with it, whether it becomes a cultural site or whether it's because it is at the mouth of the Wailua River, and so there's a lot of history and lore there. But so whether it becomes a cultural site, whether it becomes some sort of educational or another resort or some mix of all three of those things, it's a shame that nothing's happened with that so far.
Well, I'm not going to give it to you to do, but it's the next project. I think everyone wants to hear what happens with that, and all the smart people that can get together in Kauai. But again, like you said, a beautiful property and just a waste sitting there. But it does cost money, and maybe this year is a bad year to think about taking care of that. But
that's true.
Where do you live? Closer to Kaupa'a or Hanapepe?
Hanapepe. I live in Omau, which is down near Poipu and Kaloa. And that's just by virtue of when I worked with Hyatt. We were lucky enough to be able to get a home at that time, and feel like we're very lucky and like where we're at. And so I make the drive back and forth every day.
Surf or snorkel?
Snorkel.
Or either? Snorkel. Okay. You caught any big fish out there?
No, I never have. I'd love to. Our front office manager, Thomas Klein, has got this picture that I envy every time I go in his office. It's him on a boat with a big, beautiful swordfish and a big, huge grin on his face with a shaka. And I wish that was me, but I've never had a chance to do it.
Well, we've all learned a lot of different things. There's some things that you still sounds like you need to explore in Kauai.
For sure.
Well, we are very excited that you shared your love of Kauai. The Hawaii Boss podcast crew is really excited that you spent your time with us. We'll put as much information as we can down in the bottom, how to get a hold of at the cliffs and just to find out what's going on. There's any Kama'aina deals going on, any current things that are happening, and also all the education and different stuff that you folks are engaged in. We're again, thank you from all of us and sir, aloha. And
thank you. I'd encourage you to go to our website or call our reservations office. And just one last thought is we're in a unique window right now that it's a great time to be on Kauai before all the tourist flocks come back. It's a lot quieter than it has been, and you may ever see again in our lifetime. So it's a great time to come.
So so as soon as school gets out, or even before, get those weekends lined up. Just get them right over there. Southwest heads over there. Is that right?
Yeah, Southwest and Hawaiian.
Southwest, Hawaiian, both over there. Get those flights. And
line these days, so we've got great internet. Come on by.
All right, sir. Again, Jim, you've been a pleasure, and we look forward to when things progress and things get better, and you're flying, and you don't know what to do with everything. We want you back on the show and tell us how good things are going. Okay.
I'd love that. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on Kauai soon, I hope.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'll be looking for you, our Kauai connection.
All right. I'll be happy to.
All right. Take care, Jim.
All right. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.